Okay. Good evening, everyone. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, everyone. Just want to start by just sharing some sad news we learned since we last met. Unfortunately, have to report the passing of a beloved member of our South Huntington family, Ms. Barbara Speranza. And Barbara was the recipient of the South Huntington District-wide Teacher of the Year in 2012 and a retired English teacher. After a successful career teaching English in New York City, she joined South Huntington in 2002. She began her first year teaching home and careers at Silaswood and then traveled to Stimson Middle School to finish her day teaching English. Following that year and until her retirement, she taught English at Woburn High School. At Whitman, she embraced her love of the theater, working on school plays wholeheartedly. And we have a sentiment shared from Joanne Hilly Carbone, who wanted to pass along her thoughts. Barbara was larger than life, with a contagious laugh and love of literature and students. She spoke her mind, loved to laugh, tell stories, and love fiercely. She will forever live in our hearts. I ask that you please keep Barbara and her family in your thoughts and prayers, and should you wish to send your condolences, please reach out to Ms. Caliendo for the address. And ask everyone for a moment of silence in honor of Barbara's wonderful life. Thank you. Okay. So we have a couple presentations before we get into our regular Board of Education meeting. And the first is the Closing Opportunity Gap in Advanced Placement courses, which Dr. John Murphy will present, and he'll be actually presenting this over the summer in Seattle. And this was also something that the school board and the school district were just recognized for in Orlando at the National School Board Conference, where the district received the National School Board Association's Magna Silver Award. So very proud of that. And it's a great program, and to tell us about it, Dr. Murphy.
So now I'll get it to work. All right. I'm actually, Dr. Steele and I are going to work on this together. This is something that both of us have been working on for the last 2 years. She's going to be starting the presentation, and then I'll be wrapping up with and we'll be providing any questions the board or the community may have.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Dr. Murphy. As he stated, we are happy to share the current data that shows the diversity among our students that are enrolled in our AP program. We are very proud of this work. We were excited to share this information as part of a webinar for the New York State Education Department, and the video is posted on the website and is being used by other districts as professional development. As Mr. Ciapetta had stated, we were recognized as the National School Board Association recently and received the Magna Award. And we'll be presenting at the College Board Conference in Seattle over the summer. So we are excited about our work, but it also shows us that other people outside of South Huntington are noticing us too. So as you can see, South Huntington, we walk, talk, and look like America. This gives you some of the demographic breakdown of our student population, and we are truly a reflection of the overall society. And this is really the basis of our work and the basis of our philosophy, which is success for all of our students. In doing a 10-year demographic study of South Huntington, you'll see that there is a change in the cultural backgrounds of our student population. The graph to the left shows that over the past 10 years, our population has changed. With 50% of our students now being of Hispanic background. And to the right, we have a graph that shows the enrollment in our AP programs. That is a direct reflection of that demographic. And this puts us right in line with the expectations of New York State. which recently implemented the Culturally Responsive Sustaining Education Framework, where districts are expected to focus and provide equitable opportunities around the 4 principles. We are expected to provide a welcoming and affirming environment, create inclusive curriculum and provide assessments, establish high expectations and rigorous instruction, and provide ongoing professional development around all 4. So what does that mean for us here in South Huntington? Through continuous professional development over the past 3 years, we're fortunate enough to be working with our consultant, Tracy Edwards, who has supported our staff with moving this work forward. And Dr. Murphy will present the data that shows how we are directly in line with high expectations and rigorous instruction throughout the district.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Wait, one more.
Oh, sorry.
And this all started with a change in our mindsets with parents, students, and faculty. We began to look a little more closely at how we use data to drive decisions on student placement and programs. We shifted focus from teacher recommendation and involved students and parents more in the selection process. And our overall perspective and goal of just passing is not okay. You know, what are we doing to help our students reach higher achievements? And also with examining disproportionality, looking at it through a different lens. Really, instead of looking at it as an achievement gap, looking at where we are lacking in providing opportunities, equitable opportunities for students throughout the district. And now, Dr. Murphy.
All right, that was a little bit of a tease. So first and foremost, before I go in, this has been an effort even when I was principal, is looking and evaluating. This has been an effort throughout the middle school, the intermediate. It's really the preparation of getting students to be successful, and that really doesn't that comes, a big part of that comes in what the teachers have done throughout the years. So this is something that has been a work and a labor of love for a number of years, and I appreciate the teaching staff at all levels and what they did to be able to accomplish this. So one of the thing that we have to really focus on is this is a 3-pronged approach. In order to make sure that students are successful, we need to be able to make sure that parents, community, and teachers are all singular in thought, in vision, and making sure to be able to access the materials and the availability to make sure student success remains paramount. So where are we now? What are some of the programs that we were able to focus on throughout the years that gave us this success with the increased number of students taking advanced placement courses as well as college level courses? And it comes in a variety of ways. The voluntary advanced preparation, or what we call the acronym VAP, which I'll get a little more involved in with explanation in a moment. Effective use of data, not just compiling data and then looking at it and saying this data is great, but actually taking that data, looking at it and seeing where are the things that we can improve on, what are the little changes, and what are the great overarching changes that we can make that will make sustaining and positive change for all students. The addition of Saturday academies and AP preparatory courses, making sure that students have the availability, not just inside the classroom, but outside of the classroom, to be successful. Also is the addition of core labs, or core in all core subject areas, labs for students. And these labs are not just meant to be for remedial students. This is meant to be for advanced placement students and all students of all walks of life, to make sure that every student is successful in their academic endeavors. And last but not least is college level opportunities. What the amazing thing about South Huntington is that not only do we offer over 30 AP courses, but we have partnerships with nearly 10 universities and colleges that give students an average of over 10, 12, 15 college credits for many of our students that are leaving, which is a cost savings as well. So getting into a little more detail about these 4 programs, or 3 programs I mentioned. The VAP program, or what we call the Voluntary Advanced Preparation, it really started out as a 21st century technology initiative. When we started the VAP program, even years before I got here, it was the promise of a Chromebook. It was before we were 1-to-1 Chromebook ratio with our students. It was getting students involved in 21st century digital technology as almost an incentive to say, hey, take these advanced courses so that, or begin to start thinking about taking these advanced courses, and we'll use technology as a lure. We identified these students within 5th and 6th grade, and this is in part with Silas Wood and Stimson, and then they would, in essence, be given tools and supports to make sure that they led into a pathway of honors or advanced coursework. This was only in part because a lot of that time you needed to make sure parent workshops and parents were involved in the process, and that they were given the tools to make sure that that their students not only maintained and stayed the course, but also that they were the other side of that, saying, you can do it, this is something that you can do, this is something that you can be successful at. In addition to this, student summer workshops, where not only when we first got involved in the program, where it was giving students the tools to use 21st century technology, but also how to research, how to be able to effectively go into a class and be able to be successful within that class. And in addition to that, as I mentioned before, is a collaboration with middle school programming, where they would be able to identify these VAP students, and we'd be able to continually track them throughout their high school career to make sure they were making the right choices academically to go into these advanced level courses. As I mentioned, academic and Saturday academies. These we've had many, everything from E&L students to also VAP students. As I mentioned before, success comes in many variations for many students, and the one way we had to look at it is what types of summer programs, what types of after-school programs fit the needs of all our students. So we started devising various programs that would fit those needs, to where we would be able to support and make sure not only our students in honors, but other students, such as our SCIFE students, even have the availability of taking college level or advanced level courses. Just to be clear, which was implemented a couple years ago, we have a number of SCIFE students who go into HLA where they're taking an AP Spanish course. So that's 3 credits for them, in language they already know, that they're getting 3 college credits to be able to go into post-secondary success. Core subject labs were very important. We initiated subject labs, labs for all subject areas, to make sure that students were giving support for AIS services, which is academic intervention. But then we kind of expanded upon these services to not only focus on those students, but also students that needed help with college essays, but also more importantly if they had advanced level courses and they needed some support or a little extra help, they were given the availability to do that. And these were mostly held within lunch periods, and in some cases they were assigned to students as academic periods, depending, to make sure that it needed a little more structure. The classroom teacher and the support teachers would collaborate and basically say where these students were deficient, so that they got the support, again, in all types of students, whether it was an ICT class or an AP class, but every one of them got the same attention, and we were able to see success within those interventions. So as Dr. Steele mentioned, there is a big difference. When I started in the educational field, we always heard about achievement gap, achievement gap, achievement gap, and really that's kind of been changed to opportunity gap. And what the difference is, opportunity is identifying the areas in which a district, a classroom, a building can find opportunities for growth and success. And one of the 2 things that we started looking at a couple years ago was that we saw a continued increased poverty rate. And that was an increase by over 20% in the last 10 years. And that was something that we needed to be able to say, this is an opportunity for change and for growth. The other part of it was an increased number of English language learners, 38% at the high school, which increased by 26% over the last 10 years. These are 2 areas which, if left unchecked, if left unnoticed, they would become problematic, because we're not addressing the needs of those students, and as well, not bringing them into the fold and culture of South Huntington. So because we addressed these two opportunities, or where this opportunity gap was, we saw tremendous achievements, and some of those 22% increase over the last couple of years in the amount of AP exams given. And I'll be showing a chart to give you a visual representation of that. We saw an 18% increase in the total amount of students taking AP exams. We saw the number of black students doubling in terms of student of color in the last 5 years taking AP exams, as well as 30% more Hispanic students taking AP exams. Now, mind you, as you'll see in the numbers, these increases are not just our more academically inclined students. These are all students, special education students, SCIFE students, E&L students. So just to give you a little visual representation of what these changes mean, in 2014 we had 400 students take AP exams. That totaled 674 exams with a pass rate of 75.3%. Now that's a great 3/4 of your students taking it, getting a pass rate. That's actually a very, very good score. It's above the global and or state average. As we started to increase the number of students taking AP exams, as you'll see, in 2023 that number went from 400 to 660. And the number of tests went from 674 to 1,244, with the potential of those taking exams, 10,050, and there is a potential for next year for 1,455 exams to be taken in 2024. Now, a lot of the concern from parents, students, community, and teachers was that we would see a significant decline in student success as we increase the number of students taking AP exams. And that is that's something that we needed to look and we needed to monitor and think about. But I want to preface this is that in 2014, when there was almost, when there was almost nearly half the number that we're taking now, it was 75% pass rate. With doubling that number, the success of the pass rate is still 73.62%. That really shows that the changes we made and the students that are taking it have the capability of being able to be successful in AP exams. And that is one of the biggest things that I can praise the teachers and the school district, because they took a chance saying, let's let over 1,000 kids take these exams or 1,000 tests, and yet we did not deviate from the success of those tests. Just to give you a little more clarification on our demographics that are taking these tests, as we saw in 2016-17, we had 132 students that were Hispanic, or identified as being Hispanic, taking tests. That number is nearly doubled with 227 as of the 2021-2022 school year. Same thing for our other subgroup of students of color, where black students were 50 in 2016-17, where 91 are now taking it in 2021-22. Again, that's a significant increase in over a short number of years. So what did we learn from all this? As I mentioned before, with our percentage increases, but what I really want to focus on is the last 3 bullet points. Because this is why it matters. Yes, we increase the percentage of number of students taking tests. Yes, it's important. But more importantly, with the last 3 bullet points, is 50% of our students are leaving Walt Whitman High School with 6 or more credits. That is not only showing that they are ready and capable to take go to post-secondary institutions, but more importantly, it's a money and cost savings for one, as I mentioned before, where 50% of our students live below the poverty line. So being able to say that I'm saving money from my college degree is a great thing. And really the 6 credits, that's normal for a good majority of our students. As some students will attest to you, some of it is 12, 15, I've even heard as high as to over 21 credits. This is a full semester and or year of credits that they were able to achieve at Walt Whitman High School. The other bullet point is 67% of our students received an advanced Regents diploma. That means 2/3 of our students by New York State standards are ready to go to college, that they were able to get an advanced designation on the Regents diploma. This is despite the high number of students with special needs, and as well as our E&L and SIFE education and special education population, yet 2/3 of our student body were able to get an advanced Regents. And last but not least, especially coming from a diverse district, a district that has 50% is 50% below the poverty line, yet 91% of our students go to a 2 or 4 year school. That's a significant impact because unlike many other districts in Long Island, that number rivals just districts that are homogeneous and not heterogeneous in its population and its poverty line. So these are really a testament to the staff, hence the administration. This is something that's been a labor of love for many years among many staff members, teachers, administrators, and it's something that's we've been able to prove that our students are just as good, if not better, than anyone else.
So in closing, what did we learn and where do we go from here? Well, we learned pretty much that the sky is the limit here for our students, that we are to remain open to any and all possibilities for the success of our students, to provide that ongoing support and professional development, to continue conversations among all stakeholders, to gather that critical feedback, to be creative with scheduling so that we ensure that we're providing equitable opportunities for all of our students, to continue articulation between our schools, and most importantly, to create avenues and supports that meet the needs of our specific students. And as Dr. Murphy said, none of this is possible without the collective efforts really of administrators, teachers, and faculty throughout the district. So we want to thank everybody for their participation, their hard work every day. And at this point, we'd like to open up to any questions from the board, if there are any.
Great job.
Okay,
Dr.
all right,
Steele.
well, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your time.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Very important work. Definitely something to be proud of. All right. And now our final presentation is the budget adoption. In new business, the board will be voting on adopting the budget for the 2023-2024 school year. And we'll do so even though the state has not adopted their own budget. The state is ignoring their deadline, but we cannot. So we'll adopt it even though we don't know exactly what our state aid numbers are. But that's how it goes. Dr. Sedamore?
Thank you, everyone. That was an outstanding presentation by Dr. Steele and Dr. Murphy. And like Mr. Ciapetto, our board president, said, the efforts of our staff, the achievement of our students continues to be a source of pride and strength for this wonderful community, a community that is truly a microcosm of America, where our diversity is a source of pride and strength. These curriculum presentations, at each board meeting, they continue to be a perfect segue into the budget presentations and the budget workshop process, because that's what we are here for. We are here to meet the needs of our kids, provide the proper supports to our teachers, support staff, and administrators, so we can give the best possible education, provide the best possible educational program there is, and you are seeing the fruits of this labor. And it truly is wonderful. So here we are, in spite of the state and their efforts or lack thereof, we are at budget adoption night. And the key themes continue to be how we review, assess, and sustain. And that last word, sustain, is always that critical theme. You see the achievements that are being made. You've heard week after week. I'll reiterate, summarize a little bit tonight about the wonderful things that we're doing, that we're adding, and we're always looking to build. And so, that theme of sustainability is so critical because we don't want to have that ebb and flow of build up, tear down, build back up, tear back down. That's why sustainability is critical. Like we said, it's about our people, it's about our family, the South Huntington Wildcat family. Nearly 6,000 students, about 1,300 staff, strong. It's always about the people when we're talking about public education. A big highlight with this budget development process is the tax levy increase of a 1.5% that the Board of Education agreed upon. This will be the third year in a row that the school district, the Board of Education, will present a budget that has a sub 2% tax levy increase. This will be the third year in a row. Something to be very proud of. And of course, it also comes with the state finally doing right by districts such as South Huntington in terms of making us whole with a key component of our state aid, that foundational aid component. As we've been talking from presentation to presentation, that aid factor is significant and has a direct impact on what we could do in terms of that tax levy. Some highlights in the budget in terms of staffing. Obviously, with the return of the 9-period day at the high school, there's an investment in our teaching staff. We're also very proud that at our Silas Wood 6th grade center, we are moving to a full-time librarian. And of course, we've been talking all year for several years in a row about how critically important mental health, social emotional wellness is for all of our students. And we are once again investing in that area as well in terms of staff support, particularly at the elementary level. The 9-period day is going to present a plethora of opportunities for our students across the entire learning spectrum, especially in these wonderful course offering areas that are listed above. We are very excited. We are a district that is renowned not only for our academic achievement overall, but also for all of our special area programs such as art, dance, music. And of course, the efforts that we make in science and technology with some of our learning spaces, virtual dissection table, cybersecurity lab, soon an enhanced marine biology lab. We continue to invest into the instructional programs. So as Mr. Ciapetta said, we are working off of the governor's initial executive proposed budget. We are not sure when the state will approve the final budget. Luckily, what we are hearing is that we should not see a reduction. We should not see a reduction in the proposed state aid from the governor's executive budget. Obviously, we keep our fingers crossed with that. It is possible we could see a little bit more aid, once the state budget is finalized, and that, of course, would always help with in terms of fund balance. The UPK aid is a separate category of aid, so when you see that total of $72 million, it'll actually go down a little bit in subsequent slides because we don't factor that in, in terms of the budget planning, because it's specifically geared towards the UPK. In terms of the revenue side, in terms of coming together for a balanced budget, and you see that bottom line number of a little bit over $209 million, that is our budget. And in terms of how we get there, how do we get there with our revenues to meet those expenditures? Because we are required to adopt and present for public consideration a balanced budget. We get there through the combination of the tax levy revenue, and again, the increase will be at 1.5%. The state aid, there's that state aid number minus the UPK that I previously mentioned. There are some other revenues that come in. There are certain fees that get collected. There's some lease money. And then any gap in terms of where our revenue is and where our expenditures are, this is where we tap into areas such as reserves and fund balance. And that's something I've been speaking to a great deal from presentation to presentation in terms of that, being very prudent and careful with that. And I'll get into a little bit more detail in the subsequent slides of this presentation. And again, those total revenues bring us to what our budget will be, again, a little bit over $209 million. So reserves are that's part of the savings account that have specific designations. You can only use it for the things that they are intended to be used for. ERS is an abbreviation for the Employee Retirement System that covers all of our support staff. Teachers Retirement System, TRS, covers our certificated staff, teaching assistants, teachers, and administrators. Workers' comp, self-explanatory. And to pronounce that last one, the EBLR, essentially that's the post-employment benefit component in terms of those costs to the district. So for the 23-24 budget, we are proposing to utilize just under $2 million of reserves from those specific designated reserve funds. Of course, when the books close at the end of the year, any additional revenue that comes in, such as potentially some additional state aid, can help to replenish where we spent down those reserve areas. And spending down the reserves is something that we have been speaking about, and it's always a goal as we go from one budget to another to reduce that dependency. And so from the budget that we're living in, the current fiscal year of 2022-23 into the 23-24 school year, we are able to reduce that dependency on reserve utilization by a little bit over $500,000. So we're continuing to meet our goal, and that will remain a goal. And as I said earlier, significant, sufficient state aid will always factor in that. We're heading in the right direction, even though we continue to spend down the savings, because each year we look to reduce it more and more, and that will absolutely remain a goal next year, especially since now districts such as South Huntington are whole in terms of the foundation aid, and we're probably going to see some leveling across the state for the school districts next year in terms of those state aid increases. The other part of the savings is called fund balance, and an auditing standard is when the auditors come in and they look at, how fiscally sound the school district is. One of the measurements is they try to see how close to a 4% unassigned fund balance a district is. 4% is the max currently by law. And so it's an auditing standard that they want to see districts at or pretty close to it. And it's a pretty key measurement, all right? So when you apply fund balance as a revenue into the budget, then that means you have less of the unassigned, and that can lower you, below the 4%. And you definitely want to try to avoid, based on my experience and working with auditors each year, getting below that 3%. Okay. Currently, we're just a little bit above 3%. So, in working on this year's budget development for the 23-24 school year, my team and I, working collaboratively with everyone across the district, were able to decrease by just under $1 million that utilization. So, between the applied fund balance and the reserves, we feel like we're making a good dent in terms of reducing that reliance on the savings account. Transportation is a key investment for every school district, especially a school district like South Huntington, where we have a hybrid transportation program. What does that mean? It means we have our own fleet, but we also need to supplement that with contract services. Our own fleet will comprise about 60 to 70 buses, which includes a combination of the large buses and those minivan type buses. This year that we're currently operating in, 22-23, we invested just under $900,000 for 8 large buses. We're trying to stay as close to that number from year to year as part of our replenishment plan to keep replenishing our buses. And so for next year, we're pretty close to that number at $880,000, and we're going to do a combination. This time a little bit more of the emphasis on the mini buses and a couple of large buses as well. The upkeep of our facilities and grounds is paramount. We want our learning and teaching and working environment to be conducive, and how safe it is, how clean it is, how well kept it is critical. So facilities is just like your home, is a key investment. And we have a robust facilities committee that meets monthly. Several board members are on it. It's chaired by our board president. We have our architect, engineer, facilities department. We have various curriculum areas represented. IT, everybody works together. Athletics, everybody works together because it's a team approach, and everybody brings a certain lens and experience factor to the table. And we will continue to invest into the upkeep of our district. Both through the general fund in terms of about $1 million, for various routine maintenance, and then the special projects, those capital projects, just under $3.5 million. And when you look at that list of projects, you see the heavy reinvestment in our curriculum. Keep in mind, when you're talking about the athletic fields or the bleachers, that directly ties into our physical education program, our marching band music program, in addition to interscholastic athletics. And of course, you see all the learning spaces. We're very proud to be bringing back that key vocational component of in the auto shop, while also looking futuristic in terms of the robotics. A lot of exciting things, and of course, that continued investment in safety and security. This slide has a lot of numbers, and of course, this presentation will be on the website. I tried to highlight a couple. Again, in red at the top, left and to the far right, our tax levy increase, 1.5%. Again, the third year in a row, a sub 2% levy increase. Those areas in blue in the middle, or what I just spoke about in terms of the use of reserves, the use of fund balance, those components that make up the savings for the district, and you see how we're going in the right direction. You see a negative number there as we continue to reduce that dependency. And then at the bottom, you may not be able to see it, just above Dr. D'Elia, is again the bottom line of our total budget, a little bit over $209 million. What we're required to do this time of year is to kind of pull out a crystal ball and make an educated guess as to what this tax levy, in this case, also a tax levy increase, will mean to our homeowners. Again, this slide has a lot of numbers on it. I'll make it as simple as I can. It will be on the website. Every home is assessed differently, and so we have several assessments of homes, and we tried to highlight the average in blue. And so what we do when we try to guesstimate the assessed valuation is we try to look at the trend. So we do a trend analysis, and with COVID, you have a couple of anomaly years. So we went back close to a decade. And then when we see what we think is an average, then we try to be even more conservative on top of that, because when the town comes out in the early fall with the actual assessed valuation and the actual, dollar for dollar, month to month impact in terms of your taxes and tax increase, we want it to work out in your favor. So I'm being very transparent. We're being very conservative with this estimate. And so we are estimating right now that for the average homeowner, they'll see roughly that 14 and change to just below $20 increase per month. Again, we feel like we're being very conservative with this guesstimate. And there's this a graph to illustrate that assessed valuation trend. And while you see that the budget to budget from this year to next is showing a 6.94% increase, it's so important for me to reiterate that is not the tax levy increase. The tax levy increase is 1.50%. On May 16th, in addition to the board elections, as well as the budget itself, the budget will be listed as Proposition 1, but there will also be a second proposition for voter consideration. For the last 2 years, we have had an ex officio student member. Ms. Regalato is currently our student representative on the Board of Education. And by regulation, this has to be renewed through proposition every couple of years, and this is the year for it to be up once again for public consideration. Our goals: we continue to strive for excellence. We continue to meet the needs of our kids, set high expectations for them, close all the opportunity gaps, and just keep that arrow moving in that upward direction. The next time we meet, the focus will be on the BOCES budget and their elections, and then we will have a public hearing as required by regulation on the budget on May 9th, and then at the high school from 3 to 10 on May 16th, you'll have the budget vote, the Proposition 2 vote, as well as the board elections. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Senmore. Any questions from the board? Excellent. So, 2 more steps to this process: the public hearing on the 9th, and then the vote on the 16th. And in addition to those 2 propositions, we have 2 board candidates running for 2 spots. So, assuming they get a vote, we'll be welcoming back Mr. Bronson and Mr. Joyner in 3 more years, which is good news for the district. All right. Okay. We're going to move into our regular business agenda now. I'll take a motion to adopt the agenda. Ms. Meyer, seconded by Mr. Biangasso. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Items C through F require 1 resolution for adoption. Those are our minutes, financial items, bids, and schedule of bills. Is there a motion? Ms. LaCara, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Any questions on C through F? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, there are no communications for this meeting, so we'll move on to new business. New business item number 1 is the adoption of revised board policy 5710 regarding the district's transportation program. Is there a motion? Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Senmore in a minute. One thing that was not mentioned in the presentation was that the district will be piloting next year a late bus program for the Stimson Middle School, and so accordingly, we need to make some changes to our policy. Dr. Senamore?
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. And what this change does to the policy is it provides critical clarity with regards to late bus eligibility for non-public schools.
Okay. Good. And all of our constituents had an opportunity to review this. Board have any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Moving on to new business, item number 2 is the adoption of the 2023-2024 budget. Motion. Ms. LaCara, seconded by Mr. Bronson. All right, so this resolution offered by Ms. LaCara and moved by Mr. Bronson says, be it resolved that the budget of $209,068,729 be adopted and the amount thereof, less state aid and other income, be raised by tax upon the taxable property of the South Huntington Union Free School District in the town of Huntington, county of Suffolk, state of New York, for the school year 2023-2024. All in favor? Any opposed? I want to thank everyone who was involved with the budget process. Great job as always. A lot of great point, Dr. Senamore, and how we've had 3 consecutive sub-tax levy years in a row, and while doing so, we are continually improving our facilities and raising our academic progress and improvement. So accomplishing those things simultaneously are pretty good. And, you know, we would be remiss if we didn't say it's also a direct result of increased state aid over the last 3 years as we're finally being fully funded. But we'll continue to advocate for more. We expect that that funding will level off the next year, so we have to be mindful going forward. Moving on to new business item number 3 is the adoption of 2023-2024 property tax report card. Motion. Mr. Scraggs, seconded by Mr. Biangasso. Dr. Senamore.
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. Every school district, by regulation, the day after its Board of Education adopts the budget, is required to submit through the state portal what's called the property tax report card, which essentially breaks down certain components of the budget, including things such as reserves and fund balance.
Any questions from the board? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to item number 4 is the approval of the second proposition for the vote. And this is, as Dr. Senamore mentioned during his presentation, for the ex officio student board member. Is there a motion? Mr. Bronson, seconded by Ms. Meyer. Any questions on this one? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Moving on to new business item number 5 is the appointment of election officials. Is there a motion? Mr. Bronson, seconded by Ms. LaCara. This is a standard resolution that we do for each year for the annual vote, and it appoints various individuals. It appoints a chairperson, which is Michelle Murphy, clerk of the meeting, Regina Caliendo, chief election inspector, Kelly Twist, a number of inspectors, and then a number of inspectors from Suffolk County as well. Any questions on this resolution? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Moving on to new business item number 6, which is a companion to item number 5, and this authorizes the district clerk and the superintendent to appoint any substitute election officials that they need. Is there a motion? Ms. LaCara, second. Mr. Scragg, any questions on this one? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Moving on to new business item number 7 is the adoption of the board meeting schedule for the 2023-2024 school year. Motion. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Biangasso. Pretty standard. We have to do this each year. I do note that we added to the resolution that the annual school board reorganization meeting that's our first meeting of the business year, will be held on July 2nd, 2023, and that's required to note that pursuant to Education Law 17072. By law, the meeting is supposed to take place on the first Tuesday. If it's a holiday, it's supposed to take place on the first Wednesday, or the board may set that organizational meeting for within the first 15 days of July by resolution, which we're doing so. Any questions on the schedule? All in favor? Any opposed? And moving on to new business item number 8 is the approval for a request to remain in the South Huntington School District. Motion. Ms. Meyer, second. Mr. Scragg. This is for a senior who was attending Walden High School and moved out of the district recently. It's generally been our practice to approve for seniors. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. A lot of new business today. Moving on to new business item number 9 is the Energy Performance Contract, RFP. Motion. Ms. LaCara, seconded by Mr. Biangasso. Dr. Senamore.
Thank you, Mr. Ciapetta. Very exciting. We are in the final leg of getting our, what will be for this district, the second energy performance contract. This will be the acceptance of the proposal for the actual financing, and we're going with Bank of America based on their low rate compared to competitors with a 3.355 interest rate, and the closing is scheduled for, they were about 0.25%, maybe a little bit better than the nearest competitor, with a closing the latter part of next week.
Oh, great. Okay. Questions? All in favor? Any opposed? And when do we expect those projects to get under construction later this year, or?
Yeah, we're looking to start immediately, and with a hopefully getting a start in that the Stimson parking lot, and getting other electrical type lighting work done, and then going from there.
Okay, great. It's like we've been talking about a while. So there'll be solar arrays coming to all of the buildings, which is very exciting. Okay, new business item number 10 is the approval of the Eastern Suffolk BOCES cooperative bid program for the district to participate in. Motion. Mr. Scragg, seconded by Ms. LaCara. Dr. Senamore again.
Thank you. So this will be the first of a series of bids and multi-year service agreements. This particular one, Eastern Suffolk BOCES, is a one-year agreement for the subsequent school year. It's an opportunity for the district to save time, money, labor with regards to the bidding process overall, which includes advertising, opportunities to be part of what's called piggybacking with existing bids. And so this is something we have done routinely year after year, and I respectfully request your approval.
All right, any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, Dr. Senamore. Moving on to new business item number 11, which is similar. This is a Southern Westchester BOCES bidding program. Motion. Mr. Scragg, seconded by Mr. Bronson. Dr.
Yes,
Senamore again.
we try to be equal opportunity bidders in terms of these cooperative agreements. You'll see several BOCES over the course of the next couple agenda items. This one with Southern Westchester BOCES. And this cooperative bid enables us to get very good pricing with regards to various supplies, office supplies, art supplies, needs for our nutrition program.
Great. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. And the last, don't want to leave out Western Suffolk BOCES.
The previous two were single-year agreements.
One sec. I need a motion.
Sorry about that.
Is there a motion? Mr. Biangasso, seconded by Mr. Scragg. You're so excited to talk about Western
I'm
Suffolk,
very
right?
excited. Very excited. We want to be inclusive of all our BOCES, and we do a lot of work in Nassau BOCES too, by the way. But in terms of this is a multi-year agreement, and this covers our IT needs. This is the norm where we, as a school district, we will enter into multi-year agreements for the rollout of various technology needs.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Senamore. All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 13 is the approval of a scholarship in honor of Barbara Speranza. Is there a motion? Ms. LaCara, seconded by Mr. Scragg, Mr. Bronson. Dr. D'Elia.
Yes. All right. I just want to reiterate the kind words that were mentioned earlier by Mr. Ciapetta, Ms. Joanne Hilly Carbone, that the high school is proposing and offering a scholarship in the amount of $250 to a well-deserved student, and we are requesting approval from the Board of Education.
Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. And moving on to new business, item number 14 is the approval of some new literature.
for the school district. Is there a motion? Ms. LaCara, and we'll go with Mr. Bronson, our curriculum committee people. Dr. Murphy, can you tell us about these new novels?
Yes, we have 8 in total. These come through our school improvement grant. They diversify our novel choices, grades 6 through 12. These have been vetted through Curriculum Council at the end of last year and this year. This is just final approval to make sure that we purchase the books and that they go into our novel rotation within our classroom. Excuse me. Of the 8 books, 2 are for Silaswood, 2 are for Stimson, and 4 are for Walt Whitman High School. And as I mentioned before, they've been vetted and reviewed and discussed at Curriculum Council.
That's pretty interesting.
They're a little more modern thing, 21st century.
Yeah,
Much, they're not the Great Depression and Grapes. of
phasing out
Wrath.
Jane Eyre and,
Well, Grapes of Wrath. It's 100 years. It's time to move on.
good, Ms. LaCara? All right, board have any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Tale of Two Cities, right? Very boring book. Sorry. It was terrible. Tell us how you really feel. The third act was good. All right, moving on to item number 15 is declaration of obsolete IT equipment. Motion. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Biangasso. Dr. Fulton.
Thank you. Our adventure of surplusing and finding treasures around the district continues, and we appreciate everyone cooperating with us in the buildings, but this is our latest list of items that we found are obsolete.
All right, we're really
Thank you.
cleaning out our closets here.
We are making progress, which is pretty awesome.
Good. A lot of storage space. All right, any questions on all these obsolete items? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to new business. Item 16 is the approval of school lunch director to attend the school nutrition conference. Is there a motion? Ms. LaCara, seconded by Mr. Bronson. This is for, I'll let Dr. D'Elia talk about it, actually.
Sure. This is for our school nutrition director, Ms. Busey. We all know what a wonderful job she does. And what contributes to her doing a wonderful job is each year she has the opportunity to go to these conferences where she learns a whole lot and comes back with some great ideas, some cost-saving ideas. And it's a very worthwhile trip. And this year it is taking place in Colorado.
Oh, nice. Cool. Fine. Good. All right. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Now we're at a state field trip. Motion for item number 17 for National Junior Honor Society to attend Six Flags Great Adventure. Motion. Mr. Scragg, second. Ms. Meyer. Dr. Murphy.
Yes, this is request come from Stimson Middle School. Ms. Voorhees in the National Junior Honor Society. It's for a one-day trip on Wednesday, June 21st. It'll be about, 200 students and 20 chaperones to go to Six Flags Great Adventure for the day.
All right, cool. All in favor? Any opposed? Moving on to new business 18. We have the approval of a donation from DonorChoose.org. Motion? Mr. Biangasso, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Dr. Murphy again.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Ciapetta. Ms. Kernicki, our life skills teacher at Stimson Middle School at the middle school level, looked to secure funds in excess of over $2,000. Since it's over the $1,000 mark, it has to be board approved. She was asked to donate various supplies or materials or money for supplies that would help with her life skills classroom. And Donors Choose is a recognized way for anonymous people to be able to provide those supports. And she accessed all the money and all the materials she needed. So we're just asking for approval.
That's great. It's a great room, and she's doing a great job with the program. What is I can't even pronounce this word. Cricket? What is that?
Yeah, that's what it is. All right.
Make t-shirts.
Yeah, it's like it created
Oh.
things. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was food, so. All right.
It's no, it's not. Cricket's food.
Cool. Very good. All right. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed?
All right, moving on to new business number 19. And Dr. Sedamore is going to be well liked after this one. A change to the 2022-2023 school calendar. Dr. D'Elia, actually. Dr. D'Elia, oh, motion, sorry. Mr. Scragg, seconded by Ms. LaCara.
I think with your approval, we'll all be liked. Due to Mother Nature being very kind to us this winter, we have not had to use any snow days. We only had a 2-hour delay. And we know our staff and our students have worked really hard and will still be able to meet the criteria of the 180-day minimum required by New York State. I am proposing to the board a shutdown of Friday, May 26th for the district.
All right. All in favor? Any opposed? All right.
Except the people in the back, they're all going to come in
They
on
are.
26th.
I know, yeah, that deserves an applause. Yeah.
Well,
Mr. Callahan said he's coming in anyway, though, so. All right, final item of new business, recommendations to the placements by the Committee on Special Education, various states listed, and the Committee on Preschool Special Education, various states listed. Motion. Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, moving on to the personnel schedules. We have personnel schedules 2, 7, 9, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17, 20, and 22. Is there a motion? Mr. Bronson, seconded by Mr. Scragg. Any questions on the personnel schedules? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, personnel schedules are adopted. Committee reports. The Facilities Committee met on April 12th over at Silas Wood, and we got to see the, oh, these are not the minutes, this is just the agenda. Well, save it for next time then. Facilities Committee met and will report at the next meeting. What's that? Oh, you want it? Yeah, no. Yes. Yes, oh, sorry. What's that? All right, we had a person, I missed a Personnel Schedule 3, which was a very important one, which is the appointment of Mr. Dan Lombardo to be the Supervisor of Special Education for our district. Congratulations. No, very well deserved, and impressed with your knowledge base and love of students. We know you're going to do a great job in your new position, so congratulations. All right, next meeting, April 25th. That's our special board meeting. We will have a couple presentations on that date, though. And then May 9th for the public hearing of the budget, May 16, the budget vote and board elections. And we conclude our meeting calendar on June 14th back here with staff recognitions. Comments by board members? Comments by the superintendent?
First off, I'd like to thank the PTA and everybody involved with this past Friday's lip sync. It was unbelievable. Dr. Murphy sliding across that floor will be an image I still can't get out of my head right now. But all kidding aside, thank you to all of the schools for their participation. It raised close to $8,000, I believe. Oh, over $8,000. Okay. Well, Ms. Murphy and Ms. Scragg did an unbelievable job, and I know there's other people involved with that as well. I don't want to miss anybody else's names. But thank you to everybody for it's turned into an unbelievable event for the district, and that was definitely through the hard work of the PTA. So thank you. Last night we had a very informative social media information night with Suffolk County Police Department. Officer Levy, who works with our students, I believe in 6th grade and 8th grade, and he did a wonderful job last night presenting all the dangers of the internet. And what we're going to do is, we had a decent amount of people there and a decent amount of people online for the live stream, but what we plan on doing through Parent Square is to send out the link of the video from last night, because it was so super informative that we're going to want all of our parents to have that opportunity to view it if they would like to. The questions at the end that the parents had the opportunity to ask were excellent, provided some clarification, but there's some real important stuff. I looked at it from from a superintendent hat and also a parent hat. A lot of informative pieces in there. So we want to make sure we get it out to everybody. So this week, before Friday, we will get it out via Parent Square to everybody. Also, I'd like to congratulate the Walt Whitman Indoor Percussion Program. They are a subgroup of the Whitman Marching Band, and they had their championships at Fairleigh Dickinson this past weekend, and they won first place. And they had their highest score in program history. So I really want to congratulate all those students, Mr. Bonaluski. They did great work, and we're very, very proud of them. And lastly, some good news, bittersweet news. Sitting among us here, we have an individual by the name of April Paprillo, who is going to be the next district superintendent of Western Suffolk BOCES. So we are very, very excited for her, and I know she's going to do great things there. And the great thing is, we're one of the 18 Western Suffolk BOCES districts, so we will always maintain that contact. So I look forward to working with you in your new role, and like I said, you will be an absolute asset to them, and I know you're always going to give special treatment to South Huntington. I shouldn't have to say that publicly, but I did. And that is my report.
Excellent, thank you. Congratulations as well, Ms. Papillo. We were talking the other day, and I realized it's a decade that you've been here with us, and that time goes so quick. So, congratulations. Very proud of you. Okay, our ex officio student board member, Ms. Regalado. Any comments?
Nothing too special tonight. I just didn't want to take time to wish everybody celebrating a very happy and blessed Eid Mubarak this weekend. It's been a very long time, but I'm very happy for everybody celebrating and I hope it's a very great time. So, yeah. Thank you.
I believe you got a scholarship at the World Language, right? Was that you? Oh, no. I thought. Oh, they announced your name. Oh, I might have ruined the surprise. All right. All right. Voice of the residents. Any residents? Yes, Ms. Murphy. Great job again.
I'm Michelle Murphy, the PTA Council President here at South Huntington, and Dr. D'Elia stole my thunder, but I just wanted to give my deep gratitude to all of the board members and the cabinet members and the staff that participated. It was such a fun night. I think it's a beautiful event for the district on many levels. I love that students moving up from buildings get an opportunity to see some familiar faces that they'll be in school with the next year. We just have heard such wonderful feedback from parents and staff, and I just am very grateful for everyone's participation, because without you, it wouldn't be an event at all. So thank you so much, and I'm already looking forward to next year. I'll be sitting in the audience. So thank you so much.
Great job by all. All right, it was a really great event. And Dr. Sedamore, you stole the show, or Old Spice is. And somehow you had an Old Spice shirt. I don't know where you got it from, but any other voices?
Nick, I would just like to mention that the co-directors of the event were Christina Scragg and Christina Oshudo. They did a wonderful job throughout the year putting this together. So I just want to make sure that they got the recognition that they deserve.
Phenomenal.
And I may be a little biased.
And you did a great job as well, managing everybody and get everybody on stage. It was really terrific. All right, any other comments? Take a motion to adjourn. Ms. LaCara, seconded by Mr. Biancasso. All in favor? Any opposed? Be well.